Hello! I'm Elaine, and I'm a tour guide in the French Quarter. I do ghost tours. And I am not going to tell you the stories that I tell on my tour, because you gotta pay for those. But if you want to hear some interesting things that have happened to me while I'm leading random drunk people around the French Quarter, I got you. One of my favorite interruptions I've ever had during a tour was during the end credits, during my conclusion speech. At the end of each tour, a tour guide's going to tell you, like, basically, hey, the tour's over. We usually also include things like, if you enjoyed yourselves, please go on TripAdvisor and rate me. You can tip me if you want. You can do this. And usually make several offers of, like, do you need directions? Do you need recommendations? Anything like that. Usually there's a couple bad jokes in there. But the important thing is it's very important for us to get through this conclusion speech, because it A, tells you it's time to go home, please stop following me. It also makes the guests aware that, yes, they can ask us things, we are here to help them. And most importantly for the tour guides, it tells people that tips are acceptable. Because, yeah, tips are not required. They certainly are acceptable, and they help pay my rent. So I was trying to do that conclusion speech one night, and right when I start, I hear the sound of Michael Jackson's Thriller blasting through Jackson Square. And I'm like, okay, and I just keep talking, because this is the French Quarter, that's not weird. But then, before I could get halfway through, a group of people dressed as zombies stumble through my tour and start dancing Thriller with my guests. Needless to say, they all ran off after the zombie Flashmob, leaving me standing there being like, does anyone need directions? My other favorite interruption of my tour ever was I was doing a tour during a night that there was a sex worker protest, because the French Quarter, if you do not know, Bourbon Street has a buttload of strip clubs on it, and that particular year, rumor has it, a certain corporation that involves mouse ears wanted to open a restaurant on Bourbon Street, but they ain't gonna open a restaurant anywhere that's adults only, so they wanted it a bit cleaned up. And the rumor has it that they made contact with the city and said, hey, we will help your tourism, you just gotta get rid of the strip joints. And so suddenly all the strip clubs were shut down. Now the official story is they were trying to cut down on human trafficking, and they were afraid there was human trafficking in the strip clubs, but there were never any arrests, and all the girls and boys that worked in the strip joints were going, yeah, there's not. So there were questions about that. But the important thing is this happened like right before Mardi Gras. And if you work in one of those clubs, you make basically the majority of your year's rent in the couple of weeks before Mardi Gras. So all of the strippers, all of the dancers, all of the drag queens, all of the bartenders, the waitresses, all the people that worked out of these strip clubs were like, yeah, no. And we had several protests, and they were all beautiful. There were lots of gorgeous signs, like it's Bourbon Street, not Sesame Street, keep your hands off of my bleep, you know, fun stuff. But I was in the middle of a family-friendly tour when one of these protests walked by me. And in case you've never been to a protest in New Orleans, the majority of them basically turn into parades. There's always a brass band that shows up, or at very least a trumpet. And this particular one, there were a lot of dancers, a lot of people in pretty costumes. There were like 3 brass bands. And so, of course, the little kids are going, oh my god, it's a parade! What's this parade for? And, like, I've talked to the parents first to make sure it's okay. Be like, well, it's a protest of strippers. That's fine, right? And I love these parents, because the parents of the family that were there that night were like, oh no, that's cool, we're gonna take them to go see Democracy in Works. And boobies, but democracy in works. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you for listening.